and they would only occupy those services or those jobs that are miserable and for which they are not contented, and that's why some of them feel they should come back. So it is our duty to change things. And to change things, we Africans are beating around. I have only seen a difference here in Kigali, where I could see infrastructure develop, because it is one of the main pillars of development. And I think power should be there, and skilled labor also should be there. These are the main pillars when you want to develop. But they are never put by our governments in that way. The order is different. We have been talking about raw material going to Europe in billions when valued in terms of dollars. That is also labor. Because if we were to industrialize, why would our people go there? You have China, that has billions of population, still is feeding its population because of human capital. They are all involved in development and making things different in the sense that they are all living comfortably to that level of human dignity. But for us, we tend to ignore things that can bring difference. And so we must all pool our efforts together. And for the time being, where we are still not a parliament supposed to make laws and to be enforced, to also work with the regional communities that have laws and that have also those states who have made those organizations that can enforce their laws. To make development as number one, and you will see our labor migration reducing. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Salum Sise from Guinea.
Thank you, Mr. President. The subject of our discussion is extremely important. The issue actually should prick the conscience of all Africans. But there are several issues, as the presenters this morning made an extensive description of the situation. However, the fundamental issue is, how do we remedy this? And that is really the issue. That is the core issue. How do we solve this? Instead of looking elsewhere, let's look at our own leaders, African leaders. The amount of money they stashed out there, if that money were invested in Africa, where would we be today? That's the first question. Secondly, as long as we do not have labor opportunities, employment opportunities in Africa, people will keep sailing boats, plying roads, and of course there'll be wars. There is no doubt about that. Vocational training, technical training of the youth should be sine qua non for Africa's takeoff. The development of the energy sector as well, to ensure that SMEs can be job generators, and these are practical solutions. And international colloquia and other fora are not solutions. We have to find local solutions, supplemented by external support, so that we can get out of the woods. So, Mr. President, you have actually given an apt and smart summary of the situation. But my point is, to all the Africans, I say this. Our challenge today is to, create wealth. Wealth is not created in sleep. It is in initiatives, and those initiatives must be encouraged in Africa. And these are the initiatives that should be driven by good governance, and over and above all, we must strive to have honest and serious leaders, Mr. President. there is no doubt. That is the issue. Once governance is perfect in Africa, Africa would soar without further work. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Abdullahi Juma from Tanzania. Please, microphone. Yes, thank you. You have the floor, Noram.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. And I'd like to thank the Almighty God for giving us help to have this session here in Kigali. So I have got the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to thank the President Kagame for welcoming us here in this country. So this is to show that there is a solidarity among our countries, and we commend the Rwandan people for their progress. And I also commend the President of the Pan-African Parliament for succeeding to have this session here. Well, I've heard about this topic about labor and migration. As you know, this issue has been there from a lot, for a long time ago. People were just migrating to look for a better job. But for we African countries, this issue has been magnified because of poverty and and different conflicts in our countries. So people are forced to go here and there to look for a job. So we thank our governments for their initiatives to help or assist to set up rules and regulation to make sure that they protect the people who are just looking for jobs elsewhere. But this is a problem, as it was specified by the presenter. One of the major issues here, our people are just leaving our countries to go and look for jobs elsewhere, but the objective is to bring back home remittance, but the rate of some kinds of taxes are high, but some of the people are just making profit of these remittances. But the major problem here from Africa, apart from our youth who is migrating to Europe, some of them are, passing away. But there is an issue that I know as far as East Africa is concerned. Our people who are working in Arab countries, I'm not saying about all countries or Arab countries, but in some of Arab countries, our citizens get very problem because when they reach there, their passports are withdrawn and they are not well paid, and some are, dying while working there. So wondering, in African countries, we don't see this problem. Why? This is another way of slavery. So I am all. Do you have what kind of strategy to deal with this problem? I've never heard about any, because so many people from East Africa are dying there and are mistreated. So our people are very poor and they are voiceless. There is someone I don't want to mention, and all people, someone has gone somewhere and he got a problem, and everyone is talking about that particular person. Our people are going in some of the Arab countries, but they were really mistreated. So I call upon I am African Union, so our people are losing lives over there. So please, to do something. So I also would like to ask, because people are just moving from here and there to look for better jobs. So here we come and discuss about so many things. Our people are dying on the way through the Mediterranean. And maybe let us see how we can produce more more jobs so that our young people cannot leave our countries, because so many people, some of them, our brothers, our sisters, they go there and they don't get any return. So I call upon to all African leaders to make sure that we produce more jobs so that our people cannot go elsewhere, especially in Arab countries, to become slaves. So I'm really, really concerned why the world is keeping quiet, whereas our people from East Africa are being mistreated.
And now I want to give the floor to Honorable Salek Abderrahman Musa from Western Sahara.
President, many migrants are shot and killed at sea. And this is what happened during an event a few weeks ago. The Moroccan authorities killed a migrant student on a boat that had many migrants on board. Mr. President, because of these events and other events in other countries, we must identify African mechanisms and policies that can be respected by African countries. Such mechanisms should take into account the rights of migrants. This is in our hands. This can be done by African parliaments. Therefore, I reaffirm the need to identify clear legal mechanisms that protect the rights of migrants to prevent any attacks inside the African continent. I thank you. Dear colleagues, I would like to recall the provisions of Rule 44 of our Rules of Procedure. Given Rule 44, paragraph 2, parliamentarians cannot use insults, defamation, or discourteous expressions or inappropriate comments, or to make personal allusions to parliaments or other persons. So I would like to invite all my colleagues to observe the provisions of this rule. The debate we are having at the moment is a general debate. So please avoid referring to countries or to press reports. I read a press report on me that I was stealing money, etc. So we need to identify these authors and see whether they want to say the truth. So we need to be diplomatic and courteous in our interventions. I would to force the previous speaker to say something he does not want to do, I would like him to apologize for the statement he made. Now I would like to invite Honorable Zalikatu. I am here. Thank you. You have the floor, madam. I wanted to start my statement by hailing the efforts made by the International Organization for Migration in the world for solving the problems of migration, which are a source of concern for us, particularly over the last few years. The speaker said that migration could be beneficial to all, which is true. If we take, for instance, the example of France, France has a long tradition of migration and settlement. Canada and Australia have turned migration into a route. I would like